Everyone, welcome back to the Sleepwalkers podcast. Tonight, we are doing it on cults, specifically religious cults. And the title of tonight's episode is going to be Cult Mania, because there's a lot of cults out there, and there might be one next to you. So, know the signs after this episode. Hopefully, you'll be able to identify it a lot better, and you'll be able to save yourself, save others. If you know anybody in a cult, get them out. With that being said, what is a cult? A cult is a religion or religious sect generally considered to be extremist or false, with followers often living in unconventional manners under the guidance of an authoritarian, charismatic leader. So initially, people do not join cults. They join communities that become cults that are based off their religious beliefs. They are promised a new life based on faith and religion. Only after they are too far down the rabbit hole do they realize there is no way to escape. The most infamous cults in the world's history have done some of their most cowardly motives using faith and religion as the anchor to draw in masses of people. Under this guise, they have performed child abduction, pedophilia, mass suicides, all under what appear to be a charismatic leader that preaches the word of God to do their bidding. Some of the most notorious cults in history include Charles Manson, a California cult-based group which believed they could incite a race war using a Beatles song, Helter Skelter,
Shinriko.
which is it was a Japanese doomsday cult with over 1,600 members globally. They made weapons of mass destruction and worked with Japanese crime syndicate, the Yakuza. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the first cult. And I'm referring to them as they're by cults, simply because that's by definition what they ultimately did. They led their people to believe that they were some type of religious institution or religious movement. They call them new religion movements, but in my eyes, they're just cults. So I'll try to refer to them as their names. So the first one was called the People's Temple, and it was led by a man called Jim Jones. The People's Temple of the Disciples of Christ, which was its original name. And then they became known as the People's Temple Full Gospel Church. I think I might have got that one backwards. And what they became best known by towards their end was the People's Temple. It was an American religious organization cult which existed between 1954 and 1978, and it was founded in Indianapolis, Indiana by Jim Jones. Jones sought to spread his message of religion with Christianity mixed with communist and socialist ideology. In 1960, Jones moved the cult to California. In the 60s, Jones moved his cult to California and claimed to have 20,000 followers at its peak. The People's Temple cult would use 10 to 15 Greyhound buses, and its members would travel up and down California's freeways each week, recruiting new members and fundraising. I even read that Jim Jones himself would travel in bus number 7, which was an armed bus with guards 24/7. In 1974, the People's Temple cult signed a lease to rent land in Guyana and established the People's Temple Agricultural Project, or what it later became known as Jonestown. The purpose of this off-grid settlement was to create a socialist paradise and sanctuary. In all realities, it was to create an off-the-grid cult away from the prying public and unwanted negative media attention that it was drumming up. On November 18, 1978, U.S. Representative Leo Ryan was investigating the compound, and the cult was murdered along with 4 members of his delegation. Later that same day, Jones ordered his followers to ingest poison-laced punch while armed guards stood by, which also became known as drinking the Kool-Aid, as you hear. 900 people died that day believing what they thought was their messiah, and this was the single loss of U.S. civilians tragedy up to that point in American history. And I don't know how they judge that based off of like wars and stuff, but I guess this is like non-war where they would categorize this as. So in the comments, don't leave angry comments. That's just what it is. On the next, our next cult that we're going to talk about, which I find this one the most fascinating, simply because of what the message they were paddling around. The Heaven's Gate cult. Heaven's Gate was another American religious new movement. It was founded in 1974 and led by Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite, which became known as the cult leaders as T and Do. The couple first met when Applewhite was recovering in the hospital, and Applewhite would go on to later describe their meeting as fate. Their cult spread the message that combined apocalyptic Christian beliefs with UFO themes. And the Heaven's Gate philosophy states that 2,000 years ago, extraterrestrials from the kingdom of heaven visited Earth. One of those visitors one of those extraterrestrial visitors commandeered the mind of Jesus Christ. Applewhite believed that these extraterrestrials have returned and were now using his body as a mind and body as a vessel. They believed that a comet named Hale-Bopp was going to cross the path of Earth, and these ETs were going to collect those souls of those people that believed in them. And the Doe and T, or T and Doe, would convince their followers that in order to achieve nirvana, pure bliss, or to join these ETs, they would need to commit suicide so that they can hop on board, their souls can hop on board top of this comet and fly out of the wherever they were going. I'm not sure. There's probably not too many places out there for them to stop and do shit by. But unlike the Jonestown murders, the Heaven's Gate cult members did not all immediately commit suicide. 15 members died on March 24th, 15 on March 25th, and 9 on March 26th, which was a total of 21 women and 18 men. And they committed suicide by using crushed sleeping pills in applesauce or pudding, and then they washed it down with vodka. So it was a fitting end for them, I guess. So what I like to do at this point is go into our pass this on. So I'm going to go ahead and go with our special guest tonight, which is Tam, and talk to her about what she thinks about this. So in your opinion, Tam, what is it in today's society that causes people to join cults?
I feel like a lot of morals have been lacked as far as like foundations, and we all like to think that we're alone in ways. So I feel like when you find that person or somebody, or whether it be male, female, friend, family, whatever, you find a connection, and that's what draws you to them and continues to draw you to them. So it could be personality, it could be you guys are suffering the same sorrows, or just the fact that we feel so out of place as individuals in society because it's not what social media said. I feel like everybody just wants to belong somewhere.
So basically you feel that it's just the wanting to belong. You just want to be a part of something.
Majority of, yeah.
Definitely. And I could definitely agree with you there, because it seems like society in itself, we're born mimicking people. We're born mimicking our parents. We're born mimicking those others around us, or siblings, stuff like that. So it would only make sense that we follow that later in our life by having our own beliefs and things, such as like the type of music we like, the clothes that we wear, the movies we like to watch. A lot of people like to fantasize about favorite celebrities or singers or fashion designers, and you will see it on social media and stuff like that. So it only makes sense when it comes to a religious aspect that we would want to share that experience with others that are like-minded like us. So thank you for sharing that. Jared, and what's your opinion? What is it in today's society that causes people to join cults?
In all honesty, I'm a young person. I'm 22 years old, and I don't conform with a lot of the people my age. And a lot of people today, I grew up in a very different society than a lot of the people that raised me or the people that I was around. And I think the biggest contributing factor to people that really follow cults is they're just looking for any type of acceptance. Like, a lot of people have a lot of issues with just accepting themselves for who they are, especially young people in today. Like, you can see it all over social media and all over media itself. But I feel like a lot of people, they find brotherhood and sisterhood in cults. And even though they might subconsciously know that they're told a lot of nothings in their ear, they still feel like there's a support system behind them. And we're all human beings. We all don't want to feel alone, in my opinion. No one wants to just go home to just their own thoughts. And I think that when people find a group that, no matter how crazy the ideology is behind it, or how odd they go about the way that their actions are, I think that a lot of people follow these cults because of they don't want to be alone. They find people that have certain similarities within themselves, and they're like, hey, and then a lot of people get sucked into that lifestyle and get sucked into that ideology, and they just go full-fledged because they feel like, hey, I have this support group behind me, so why not follow that? And that's just personally what I feel. And might be wrong, everyone might disagree with me, but that's just my perception of it.
Everyone's perception is different, man, and everybody views it from a different angle and a different lens, which is why we kind of seem to agree on shit, man. So that's definitely a good point that you make. Mr. Ken, in your opinion, what would you think that causes people to join cults?
Well, I don't know. I agree with some of the stuff that both of those guys are talking about, but also people don't or can't think for themselves sometimes. So they just join, like Charlie Day said, we live and give up America. So they're just like, oh, they're doing that, I want to do that too. There's a lot of crazy people. So I don't know. I think who knows how far this even goes back, like these cults. Yeah.
Hey.
And I don't know. I just think a lot of people don't think for themselves, and they kind of follow what they think is neat, or maybe they don't understand and they want to know, and they get sucked into something they don't understand. Then they get in too far and they're stuck.
They get in too deep, man. And sometimes they just follow others. Exactly, man. It's a great point. Mr. Brandon, what do you think in today's society would cause people to join a cult?
I think it's like everybody else has said, there's people are lonely. I mean, you got a lot of people that just want to belong somewhere, so they're just trying to fit in. And then I think cults also do a good job of preying on people that are in bad positions and need a help, or they offer a helping hand and then suck people in that way. And that way they trap them. They get people that maybe have mental health issues, maybe drug addicts and everything, use the religious aspect to bring them in, try and help them out. And then that's how they trap them. They're like, oh, well, look at all this bad stuff you did in your past life. Like, I believe with the Jonestown massacre, that's what he did, is he had like parents signing forms saying that, the kids were molested and everything. And if you leave, we're going to take this to the cops. So I think cults are really good at like using people's weaknesses against them, or stuff they've done in the past against them, and keep them trapped and then bend them to their will.
Yeah, absolutely. Traps, right?
Yeah, kind of what to Brandon said really quick. I completely didn't even like really think to talk about that, but a lot of these cults really do go out of their way as well to find broken people that are looking for any type of, and they, like Brandon said, they use their weaknesses against themselves, and that's a huge part of the following. So that was a really good point, Brandon.
I don't think so.
Do you feel that's also like sheep mentality, so to say? Everybody says, like, one goes, we're all gonna go. And given the way I don't talk politics, but given the way politics have been, it's like, oh, you say something and then I'll say something, and then it's just like a snowball effect. So like Ken was saying, people don't think for themselves, and they're like, okay, I like what you said, cool, I'm just gonna go with you.
Yeah.
But it's also like contradictory, because we as a human race, we were all taught or mentally trained to be the leaders, be on top, be the first one, and we've shied away from that. I don't know why, but it almost feels like everybody is like afraid to step up now, because there's like just so much other fear. So like it's also contradictory, because there are those people who don't want any part to be in anything, and they just kind of don't know what to do. Then they get stuck. If that made any sense.
No, it made perfect sense. It's very easy to get caught up in the mind of others and to kind of see everything from their point of view and kind of get lost in your own. K-Dog, I better just call you Ken, that way it's easier. Do you believe that mental health is something that is causing the breakdown of people to flee to cults?
Yeah, I think Brandon kind of summed it up, where they prey on your weaknesses. I know Jared caught that too, but I mean, if you're looking for help and like you have mental health issues, and I don't know, you can try to talk to somebody, or you can get medication, or you can just I don't know, look around and see what you fit into. And I think that's what happened. I don't know, when you watch some of these videos and they seem like the people are really off. Like you're like, this can't be a normal person, but something happened along the way where they probably were, and they got sucked in. And I don't understand how one person can dictate, so many behaviors and get these people, like manipulate them so much to get what he wants. Like the Jonestown was really crazy that way.
Yeah.
Like how many people moved from California with him to start this other place, and like
I believe it was about 1,000 in total.
Yeah, that's what it said, 1,000. And then like in the end, that Kool-Aid, they said it wasn't even Kool-Aid, it was some off-brand like Flavor Aid or something like that. But anyways, like a
Makes it
third
worse.
of the casualties were kids. I don't understand it. So I don't know what he got out of that, because he left the States and went somewhere else. So if he had a problem with government or the way we did things in the States, he left all that behind. But that's when it got worse, like the paradise changed for all those people there. And then they became, I don't know, they started working a lot longer, and they're punished for not following his rules. And I don't know, am I getting off the topic or the question a little bit?
Nah, you're doing good,
It's
man.
strange.
Well-
It's strange. I don't know how it happens.
Can I chime in really quick?
Anytime, man. Anybody. Anyway.
Really, in that situation, truly, like, from the couple of college courses that I took in psychology, really seemed like a severe case of narcissism. Very, very, I think that he felt a little bit of power, probably, and just from the characteristics of all the very controlling aspects that he brought upon those people, and he really started to view himself in a different light than what was in this realm of being normal. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that that was just pure narcissism and power at its core. I mean, even though just the impact that he had. And I don't know if anyone else heard the audio of like the poor little kids being forced to drink as well,
Mhm.
because they were the first ones that were being made to drink, I believe. And it's just anyone that does that is no longer on this realm of our thinking capacity. I truly believe that it was not only narcissism, but it could have been something else, something very, very evil and sadistic, because no normal person, even a narcissist, doesn't, they love control and they love power, but not to that extent, and that's just my thought.
So, Tam, what mental health issues do you think would cause somebody to want to flee to a cult, to join a cult?
Childhood trauma. I feel like we were never taught to deal or address with feelings and emotions. We were always taught to shut them down, and continuously compressing and or suppressing any kind of feelings or emotion that made you weak when you did express it. So suppressing it, you were stronger, you were, composing yourself. As adults, we don't know how to deal with it. So it comes up in different ways again that we don't understand. So I feel like that would make anybody feel less than or not good enough if they're like not able to handle, their issues. And I feel like when they do find that like-minded person, they're again, like that connection, that human relation with somebody else to, understand or know that what you're going through is okay. Of course, why wouldn't you want to be around people who know how you feel,
Definitely. That's a great point. Childhood trauma, biggest factor in everybody's life, and what pretty much drives us to make most of our decisions on a daily basis. So that's a great point. So I'm going to switch it up here a little bit. So Brandon, what did these leaders do, in your opinion, that caused them to control their flock so as great as they did?
I mean, if you look at the longevity, both these cults went on for a while before they finally got, to their breaking point, if you will, between the suicides and everything else. So I think, you start off and you bring people in and you promise them all this stuff. And I think that's just, they use their charismatic nature to win people over. And you keep promising people stuff. And then, like, I believe with the Heaven's Gate cult, that's what they were doing is, he's really good at, we're just waiting for the spaceship to come along. And then we'll all go on that. Our physical bodies will go up on the spaceship and it'll transcend. And so, and then when the woman died, Nettles, so she passed away, and then I think that's when the suicide became an option for them, because all of a sudden she dies, and her physical body's still here and didn't transcend, and so now he had to readjust his game plan, and I think that's where the suicide came in. I think it's just using their natural charismatic nature to get people to stay bought in. That's all I got, man.
That's how you won me over.
Yeah, Ken.
Nice. No, that's a good point. They definitely had some type of charm that
Yeah.
was very alluring to most people.
Yeah, and I
So-
even think that Jim Jones, I had read somewhere that he used to be a live monkey salesman before he started his cult. So I mean, the dude was a salesman going door to door selling live monkeys. I mean, he's got to, he's gonna get people to believe whatever he wants.
Yeah, that whole thing was a lie too. He wasn't religious. He was
Yeah.
atheist
Yeah, he was a
in the
communist.
beginning.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was really weird too when I was reading up on it, is because I think one of the big things with communism is almost a separation from religion. And so the fact that he was using religion but also communism, like blending them together, that should have been a red flag for people. But I mean, I guess it was the 50s when he started, so it's different era.
No,
Well,
definitely.
and Jim Jones was part of the reason why he moved to California at one point was fear of nuclear war, wasn't it?
Probably.
Because he had read in an article about 9 of the safest places to escape from war games attacks. And that's why a large portion of what he did was in California at the time, was because he feared of doomsday scenario with nuclear war, because it was around that time in the 60s and 70s.
I mean, it makes sense.
Fear, right? Fear is what he was able to use on his people, which is a
And
great point.
Really quick to add to what Brandon said, they had a pet chimpanzee, correct, at the time where the suicides took place. And the last day that the Jonestown existed, somehow the chimpanzee was shot to death. Did anyone come across that?
No.
No, I didn't hear about the thing, but I did hear that like not everybody was going to drink the Kool-Aid, so they just started murdering the people that weren't. If you weren't drinking the Kool-Aid, you were getting shot pretty much.
Yeah. He had the People's Temple had a pet chimpanzee named Mr. Muggs at the time of the suicides as well. So
Yeah.
somehow that correlated all the way through the end with him. I just wanted to add that into what Brandon had said about him being the salesman.
I mean, that's not fair if they killed the monkey because he couldn't drink out of a cup.
Right. It's a little cold.
I think they forced all the kids to drink it with syringes. Like,
Aw.
Yeah, they were the
forcing
first
them.
ones to go. There was like audio or video of them making the kids drink first.
See, childhood trauma. I'm telling you.
I
don't
think I
disagree with
have.
you.
I think I have. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can.
Oh yeah, he's easy on the eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Tell me if you can hear this.
look at that part in the fade.
I don't hear any audio.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just this fucking thing. It might have just been that video. I think that was like a. Yeah, I can't even hear it on my end. How weird is that? Huh?
Turn your
What's it?
speaker on.
Why is he always wearing sunglasses?
He is a. I was
Is
gonna
it-
come up with something, but
His eyes are red.
Yeah, I heard he got into they were saying he got into drugs real bad at the end, and that he'd always wear sunglasses no matter what. So I think that's probably what drives these people over the end too. These cult leaders, start off. I don't even want to say they start off with good intentions, because I don't think they ever do. But they get all this power, they start getting drugs and warping their minds, and then they start to believe they are God and the Messiah or whatever, and can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and being someone that it wasn't drugs, it was someone that I was very close with going through chemo at the time. They had to have him on extensive pain medication due to the cancer that he had and broken bones, and just the medication that had not certain similarities to what drugs can do to the human mind. I mean, there was a point in time where he truly believed that he was talking to God, and that was on prescribed drugs, let alone what these guys were taking is unknown, like Brandon kind of said.
absolutely. And so I'm gonna kind of bring that into the next question. This one's for you, Jared. And as far as the distinction between mental health and religious beliefs, do you believe these individuals were simply joining this cult because they had mental health issues, or was it truly for the religious new religious movement that they believed in?
I want to kind of say a disclaimer that not everyone that struggles with mental health issues is going to take this route. Everyone who has mental health issues is more than validated to have their reasonings to do things. But kind of what Tam said, and what Brandon said, a lot of the people I believe had childhood traumas that could have altered the mental health into adulthood. And then a lot of people who struggle with childhood trauma and or mental health seek alternative means in narcotics, drugs, anything of that nature. And when you have someone as charismatic, like Brandon had said, as these people, I really think that it's just a very unhealthy combination of people being broken. You know, a lot of people, especially back in that time, mental health was not a thing. You either got a job and did what you're supposed to do to societal means, or you're a piece of shit. You know, and so these people might, and that's not me being an asshole, you know, that's just me being truthful, you know. And I really think that some of these people may have had certain forms of mental health, and you know, and I can't say for sure whether it was mental health. I think it was a combination of mental health, you know, trauma as a child, being abandoned as a child, you know, shitty parents, shitty circumstances, unforeseen circumstances where people are just absolutely broken and they're looking for, you know, and people follow charisma, you know, in any type of sport, any type of world. No one follows in a big mass movement boring people. They follow people that will promise them sweet nothings and are loud and know exactly what to say to make people happy at that point in time. And that's just my thoughts.
Definitely. And Tam, same question. Do you think that what drove these people to join this cult was mental health issues, or was it simply just because they were very religious?
I think that brings up more questions as far as you hear stories of people being extremely spiritually connected, whether they believe in God or just, you know, religious reasons. But I mean, it brings the question, like, are there other, you know, realms, for lack of better terms, or dimensions that make like these people have these visions, so to say? Because I mean, you hear of mediums, you hear of other people who think, you know, they can connect or are intuitive. I mean, for all we know, those people could be telling the absolute truth, and they could have other connections, you know, beyond our, you know, human forms. It could be mental health, it could be just about anything, honestly. But what I've always asked myself is, like, where was that person in time when they made that decision to join that person? Do you know what I mean? Like, were they at their lowest? Were they at their highest? Did they feel it was, you know, was they were just like, oh, whatever, let's just go do it? But it, like, it just brings like so many more questions, and there's really a lot of things that we just don't know. I mean, we could talk about mental health, we could talk about just about anything, but we'll never know, you know, why those people did it, why the people are running them, why it very well, I don't know. Anything else to say about that, but
That's the most important part, is it's just an unknown factor. You don't know what drove those people there initially, because those are their private thoughts and beliefs, and you don't know what would have caused these supposed charismatic leaders to incite a new religious movement. And other than the fact that they were just large narcissists, right? As we've already touched base on them and stuff like that. So that's just the great unknown. It's just shitty the way that they did it and manipulated the lives of everybody involved. So that's a great point. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask the ultimate question, and you can give the best answer you can, or what you would personally believe, or, you know, if you don't think it is, you can give kind of like any type of answer you really want to. So I'm going to go ahead and start this off with Ken. So Ken, I am starting a new religion. It involves Bigfoot, it involves aliens, and it involves the Christianity saint. What would make you join my cult?
Kool-Aid.
Nice.
Just kidding.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't really have an addictive personality, I don't think. And I think that's part of what maybe some people have that join these cults. But yeah, there's certain things I like. A lot of like those things you just mentioned, I don't understand some of them. So I'm interested that way. So I'm not a non-believer in those things. I just some of the things are too like awesome for me to understand. But some of them they're like right up my alley. Like I like to go, try to find things that are hard to explain, and just like adventures and stuff. So that would take me outside. And
I think I could woo you in with the whole promise of Bigfoot in a new promised land.
with that soft talking and all that smoke coming out of your face, it's got me
All jittery.
evil. No, but yeah, I don't know if it's all linked, like those ones that you picked are all linked. Yeah, things that you don't know, you might be interested in trying to find out more about it. And then out of all the people, back in these, was it 50s or 60s and 70s
I think
when
so.
this was going on? That was a different time, a lot of free thinking, and they probably thought, and maybe like gambling a little bit, like they're waiting for something to happen. They're promised something and they're just waiting for it and never saw it, and then it all changed for them, like in the Jonestown case. But I think addictive personalities can go a long way. If you find enough people with the same thought process you have and same interests, then these things are going to happen.
Right. And I specifically chose those just because of when you first initially hear them, they sound outrageous, right? You're not going to think, why would I ever join in my life a Bigfoot UFO Christian cult? But if I had your friends there, if I had Brandon, if I had Jared, if I had Jeff, if I had Cups, if I had your people in it already, and I gave you some type of, and I could probably come up with a pretty damn compelling story. I probably could allure you at some point, maybe.
Yeah, you could pique people's interest on things that they didn't understand or weren't really into. But like you said, since you have your group of friends that you like to be around, you're going to be more open to. Yeah, I guess I can totally understand when you break it down like that. And you can see how these things happen.
Absolutely.
The difference was they probably didn't know this guy or he didn't know them. They just looked up to somebody for whatever reason. He was able to get them in his control.
And was able to get them to trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brandon, what would convince you to join my Bigfoot UFO Christian cult?
Well, I'm not going to say that I got on the Heaven's Gate website earlier for research, and I wore some black Nikes already. But, it ain't going to take much to get me on board. But, no, if you look at it, what are we all here for? Like, Sleepwalker Media is here because we want answers, right? We're looking for answers to questions people got. So even if you just lure somebody in, like if it all start off real innocent, like, hey man, we're all going to go together and start looking for UFOs and Bigfoot, and then we do that for a while, and all of a sudden you're like, hey man, Bigfoot talked to me. Like if you invest enough time into this, I'm going to be like, well, maybe he did. I don't know. I'm like, you don't love me like he loves you, but I'm not the chosen one. So it's easy to see how it happens, and especially like Heaven's Gate when you start looking at that. If you want to, because you start looking like all the ancient alien stuff, right? And there's a lot of stuff where, alien prophecy in the Bible and how all that stuff to come together. And if you look at it from a viewpoint of that, ancient people would see UFOs and how would they describe it, like how they try and sell the ancient alien theory. And so if you start tying that all into, start making it make sense, then it'd be real easy, especially if somebody's been invested with you for like 30 years, it'd be really easy to get somebody started and then drag them along as far as you want to take them, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Right. How you sell the message, how charismatic I can be, what exactly I can sell it to you, and what I can promise you in the end, what's going to change your life, right? And once I get you in, then I just hook you up on a bunch of drugs, and then, we're both talking to Bigfoot through some spiritual realm. What's that stuff called? Like ayahuasca or something like that?
Yeah, ayahuasca, or you could be doing some peyote, mescaline. Yeah, start popping shrooms and we're talking on the cactus in my backyard. Who knows what's going to have us do. So.
And then before you know it, we're inviting Ken and Jared over, and then
having cuddle sessions with the cactus in his backyard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Going to Mexico and getting castrated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's what they did. Did you see that on the Heaven's Gate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Damn. Good point.
My mom's a urologist, so no thank you.
We'll do yours chemically. You don't have to do the surgical.
I'm scared.
So, Jared, same question. What do you think I could convince you to join my cult? And if I did, what would be the things that brought you in?
All right, let's say, we take away the knowledge that we already have of all this. I think a great thing that the cults really do is they talk to people at first in a normal sense. They find out what their weaknesses are in a very nonchalant way, and then they offer an escape to whatever trauma or whatever things that those people struggle with the most. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you, because, at work, I always joke around about like not having a dad, and someone who's very charismatic finding a broken young man who mentions not having, an actual father could step up, become a very charismatic person, and really insert themselves into a young man's life like myself. And I feel like that was what they did best, is reading people's weaknesses and being able to manipulate how they can actually take control of someone's life by seeing sympathetic and seeing like they're being proactive and helping whatever trauma or whatever insecurity that person is dealing with. And then that's when they snatch you. So, like, say we have no knowledge of this. Oh, I joke around one day, I don't have a dad. And you step up, become a very charismatic male role model. Well, any kid that doesn't have an actual father is always going to look to other father figures in their lives. You know what I mean? And that's just how I think that you would take someone that has similar backgrounds to me at that point in time and recruit them directly into your cult as like a right hand man that would do anything for the cause, because you showed them love, so they're gonna commit themselves to the cause.
So by showing you everything that you were
Lacking in life, basically.
and that would make you loyal enough to follow me into this ayahuasca mind trip where we start talking to Bigfoots and trying to hop a ride on UFOs.
Dude, I'm already trying to do that as of now, but yeah.
Same. That's definitely a good point that you bring up. Try to relate to people, right? Find out what's going on with their life and stuff like that. And I think, as I mentioned, the Jonestowns, they were hopping on Greyhound buses and they were just driving around trying to recruit people, trying to gain funding. And I'm sure they use those tactics by appealing to lost, broken teens or people that they find. And hey, your your family left you too, or you ran away from home. Well, why don't you join our family? We accept everybody, right?
Yeah, I know that Jim Jones is really big on. I think he got a peace award, or he got some award for it because he had half his followers are black, and so that was like a lot of the Jim Crow area and everything. So he was getting all these African Americans involved into his cult, bringing them on board. So that's just targeting one specific type of people that are downbeaten by society and bringing them on board. So I mean, that's a good point that you just made.
Yeah, as the Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Humanity Award or something like that. Yeah.
How crazy is that, right? The person that would go on to murder 900 people received a peace award at some point in their life. It just really goes to show how great they were, right? I mean, yeah, of course, the things that they did were horrendous and atrocious, and we can argue that for days, but you can't argue with the fact that they were incredible at what they did. They were able to bring in, if the reports were true, I know they hyped them up a bit. They had 20,000 members, but at some point, I think they were able to confirm they at least had 5,000 members. Having 5,000 people follow you from something that that you pretty much made up, because I believe. He was using the templates of Christianity and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, most of that stuff he was just making up as he goes. He was using Bible scripture and stuff like that. So to be able to get 5,000 people to follow you, I can't even get my kids to follow me. You know what I mean? Like that is incredible.
That's because they think for themselves already. That's the difference.
Thanks to their mom. So let's bring it on back. Tam, so what would make you join my Bigfoot UFO Christian cult?
I'm actually embarrassed to admit this, but like if you gave me free food,
Donuts and bacon.
At one point, that was the reason why I was going to Planet Fitness, because they had free food.
Isn't that so counterproductive? The same. Free Blake's burritos. I will do whatever you want. Sweet Jesus.
I'm not even joking. Like, that is jokes aside. I don't know. I guess I'm a curious person, and I like to analyze just about everything and figure it out, and from beginning to end. I like to see things through. So if you told me that there was a possibility that, aliens did exist and there's pieces of proof here, like, I would jump in trying to put the puzzles together. And that's just my personality. Basically, if you could prove me wrong, I'm going to find out. Do you know what I mean?
So basically, it's the curiosity of it, right? You heard something that you might not have heard in your normal everyday life, but because I can put it in a good picture for you and make it sound somewhat believable, just the fact that, maybe this guy is onto something, the curiosity of it would lead you down a path to probably initially get you in the doors. And as I'm sitting there preaching in a crowd full of 30, 40, maybe hundreds of people, I'm able to resonate that, and I might hit on a few chords that might pique your interest. And you see all these people sitting around you, and all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe this guy's onto something. He has this many people already there following him. And then it just starts leading you down this rabbit hole. And before you know it, you're kind of already living there. And when you realize what you're in or what you're surrounded by, it's kind of a point of no return. You either run for your life, and this brings up a great point too, is I believe what caused a lot of these people to become so vested into it is because they abandoned their whole lives. They left their jobs, they left their houses, they left their families, they left their probably, spouses and kids, and they gave everything up for this life. And at that point, when you're already there, you pretty much have nothing to your name. So that would probably keep you there for a little while, knowing the fact that you have nothing else to turn to, right?
Yeah.
They had to try to make it work.
Yeah.
So they had to believe it was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
That could also bring another question, as that's where they bring in your weaknesses for manipulation or blackmail. And then they're like, what if they had you do something or seen something, and now there's an ultimate threat, and they're like, if you don't continue to follow us, we will go after your family.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ultimate, that's a little bit dark, but I mean, it happens, right? I mean, you hear of people getting, what is it in like most of those movies, you go to the shoe, and you're like in the dark, you have no light, you have no restroom, you can't leave, you're like in this little box. I mean, that would revert somebody mentally to conform, especially if they're being threatened in that way. But again,
Yeah,
that's
that was one of the things I think they did to him too, like put him in boxes like that, or put him upside down in wells, and
that would mess with you mentally.
So there is something, and I'm sure Brandon can speak to this as well. As you're going through boot camp, one of the things that you eventually learn is that they are in the business of breaking you down, right? They are supposed to break down your personality, your thoughts, your beliefs. They want you to be as small as possible so that they can build you back up into what they want to be. And they can start teaching you their customs, their ways. That's why when you see a lot of, say, veterans, they follows them the rest of their life. They were part of that brotherhood and stuff. And I'm definitely not calling the military cult, but I'm saying that these cult members could have used that as guidance and saw that, if I push this person or hurt them enough or make them feel so alone and isolated, that eventually that they're going to believe that I'm the only thing that they have in this world. And that's really going to sell my final product of this doomsday cult or whatever other thing I'm feeding into you, as well as I'm the one that's keeping you alive at the same time while I'm giving you some type of drug that is, just mentally deteriorating you and stuff like that. And I'm not sure how many of them use drugs as part of their inception programs, but pretty sure it's a majority of them. I definitely know that Charles Manson, that was like their biggest thing, was they would use drugs. They would offer free drugs to, their new followers, probably even the current followers and stuff like that. So it's on a basic level, psychologically, we all believe that we are mentally strong and that we all believe that we can weather any storm. But you take away little aspects of our lives, little comforts, and it's easy to manipulate people. Like if there is a major event, any type of anything happening in the current world, like a war or something like that, it's easy to get people to fight for you, to want to support your cause, stuff like that. And I know that the biggest examples that I see currently today is the political spectrum. And for private companies such as BlackRock, we just did an episode on that, which will be coming out probably tomorrow. So make sure well, it'll already be out by the time this comes out. So make sure you go in and watch that, listen to that podcast. It's very interesting how a major company can influence our lives. And I guess what I'm basically trying to say is how easy it is to manipulate us just by using media, just by using things in our environment, like, money, for instance, is the perfect example, right? Money controls everyone, no matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It's going to control you at some point. So it is so easy to get people to follow what you believe in. And I believe that the scary part is these cults, they were falling apart, right? They were, towards the end there, I know, especially Jim Jones, he was losing his flock towards the end there. And I know a lot of people tried to leave, but I believe that they killed them. And I know that's true for a lot of major cults too, is the only way out is through a box. So towards the end, they were falling apart. So eventually I believe that I read somewhere that the charismatic leaders saw this, and that's where they opted for the suicide option, is because they're not going to lose this flock. They're going to take them all out with them. And that was their ultimate goal. So that being said, what the scary thing to me is there is actually religious cults going on today, and they are massive, and they are very good at what they do. They have dozens of loyal members that keep the flock in check, and they use them, they collect their money, and these people have massive amounts of money. And I wish I knew the name of the biggest one that is in today. I believe they stretch through like Japan and Australia and parts of other parts of Asia and stuff like that. But they are successful, and they're still going on today. And I don't know if there's been any type of, I don't know if the government has tried to intervene in situations like that. I believe Waco, Texas was another cult. David,
Branch Davidians.
the Branch Davidians. Yeah, he that was a government intervention, correct?
I think that's a whole nother episode.
That's
Waco and Ruby Ridge.
that's definitely another episode, but that's a perfect example of government intervention where they tried to come through, and it was a massacre.
Yeah.
Plain and through, no matter what side of the fence you on, that's what happened at the end of the day. Is the government came through and they killed everybody in there. But those guys, they shot back. I mean, they had weapons, obviously, but we'll get into that in another podcast. That would have been interesting. That would be something interesting to go through. So that's that was pretty much all of it, guys. So I'm going to pass it through for final thoughts. So I'm going to go ahead and go down the list. Tam, what are your final thoughts? Do you have anything that you'd like to add to the whole cult mania?
Well, I mean, if we use the term cult, I mean, we could pretty much label it as anybody, any kind of group or organization, because we're there for a purpose, or, some kind of belonging. I don't have much else to say, it is really very interesting. I also like trying to figure out, people's, the way their brains work, as psychological aspects, but the mind is very interesting. It's very intriguing, one person's brain, how it connects brains and emotions and feelings and all of that. So it really could take anything or nothing at all to get somebody into a cult. And, just always check in with yourself, I guess, and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and you're on the right path, and if your intuition feels, like something's off and, you just don't feel right, listen to yourself and reassess.
Good one. Jared, final thoughts on cult mania?
I just think that this is a very interesting topic to see the different types of people that are brought into these types of things, and kind of touch base with what Tam said, just try to be transparent with yourself. If you're becoming a part of a group that kind of is limiting your access and trying to tell you how to communicate with people that aren't a part of it or family members or I think just being transparent with ourselves and just I think that if you're self-aware and you're aware of the tall tale signs of it, then you'll be all right. But I really think that this is a very good and interesting topic, and I'm glad that all of us could get together and we had a really good, like very very wide range of opinions and very good like things that I never would have thought about everyone else brought up. So I think that that's awesome that we can all come together and really, really expand on a topic in such a wide spectrum. You know what I mean? So yeah, glad everyone got to talk.
Nice one. All right, Ken, what is your thoughts on Cult Mania?
We're real short, kind of. I just think when you get like a large group of people together, you can never know what to expect or how far whatever their mission is going to go. So this was an example of that.
Nice. All right, Brandon, thoughts on Cult Mania?
I think it's a really interesting topic. I think people underestimate how easy it is to get involved in a cult. I think if you just even look at society today, like right now, if you were to tell a bunch of Star Wars nerds that, the Millennium Falcon's riding behind Hellbot Comet and all they have to do to get on is off themselves, more than one or two might do it. And people don't look at it that way because they're like, oh, it's something. But people have all these little cult followings. They just don't have like a leader pushing like an agenda on them. So I think it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, look at these idiots in this cult. I would never do that. Well, they're doing it in other ways. So I think people, like everybody else said, you just need to be really aware of what groups you're getting yourself into and really get to know yourself and be aware of, I guess, who you're surrounding yourself.
And that's a great point. It's a great point that everyone brought up. Basically, the most important thing that we have is knowledge. And just by us discussing it itself, I know that there's many documentaries already out there and there's other podcasts to talk about it, but it's important to understand the signs of a cult and what you're in. And as Brandon put it, you don't really know I guess basically everything that we believe in or like or stuff could possibly be considered a cult, right? But are you willing to harm yourself or others, which would probably define it as a doomsday cult or something more sinister like that. So that's pretty much going to do it for our Cult Mania episode tonight. We want to thank everybody for staying through it and listening with us. You guys are awesome, and we really thank you for your support. If you could continue, if you could subscribe to all of our channels or social media options. Every episode, I always promise that I'm going to make it more continuous, where you can get access to all our stuff, and I'm going to get there eventually. So stick with us. Yeah,
Get your shit together, man.
Nothing is together. It's all falling apart. That's why my cult's falling apart before it even started.
Your cult from up
I
north.
am out of Kool-Aid now. You see, you're already slacking.
Damn it.
I'm hungry.
I can't afford the good
I just
Kool-Aid.
can't believe it was off-brand Kool-Aid. What an asshole.
Right.
Times are tough.
Times were tough.
I mean, at least by country time.
Well, it was supposed to be like 100 people initially, and then when he brought over 900, they didn't have food, so that's why they were malnourished and everything. I don't want to bring it back up, but
So what if he was like, what if he went to like his top followers? He's like, hey, it's time. Like everybody needs to die, and everybody's like, all right, well, we only have like 100 cc's of cyanide, and he's like, fuck, all right. And then he's like, well, what do we got in the back? And they just bring like all these tubs of Kool-Aid and shit. And he's like, fuck it, dude.
Make it work.
We're going to make this work. So sleepwalkershop.com, and you can follow us on social media. You can support us just by simply liking this episode and leaving us a nice comment. And
We like the controversy. That's why we're here. You got to take it.
That one guy was mean though. I had to delete his comment.
Wait, what did he say? It
was something about us going in the woods, and he couldn't believe, basically calling us idiots. He's like, you guys can't have guns or some shit. And I was like,
I replied to that.
Oh yeah, I saw yours. It was like, well, we had guns, buddy, but we're not gonna like flaunt them on the YouTube and shit like that. You know what I mean?
I
I
mean,
said
he
I
was
think-
just looking out. He was just looking out.
Probably. He was probably being nice, but I took it wrong. And like, I shouldn't have
Yeah.
reacted that way and
You
sent
went
him
full blown Taos on his ass. Chose violence.
I sent him a message. I'm just kidding.
And yeah, and he's probably told you guys I'm the crazy one, right?
No, you're an angel.
That's the
Yep.
story, and we're sticking to
From
it.
Chris's mouth.
Yeah, Chris
I
is
mean, you
nothing
can-
but nothing has said nothing but amazing things about you.
You see his face. That is his lying face.
That's not a lying face. That is the face of the truth.
Face
Fuck.
of true love.
Well, I
I've
mean,
been-
like 89% of it is true, but
Don't go up north. Everybody up there is fucked. So
I was born up there, SA.
I know.
I mean, we're
You're on our
mentally
team.
like we're just mentally on another level. I mean, you just can't keep up.
That's exactly what Jim Jones said.
I'm scared.
So that's going to do it for this episode of Cult Mania. We want to thank everybody for listening to us. We want to thank everybody for being a part of the Sleepwalker team. We really appreciate you. We try to bring out as much of the truth as possible and have an open discussion about it. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you are on, because at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat sinking together. So continue to follow us, continue to be a part of the Sleepwalker team. If you can, like and subscribe or comment if you can, and that will support us in the best way. But if you want to get your own gear, you can go to sleepwalkershop.com. You get some of the latest designs that we have up there. And please stay tuned for our next episode where we will be talking about the Rendlesham Forest incident, and it is the UK's version of Roswell. And it's actually a really cool episode. So I'm looking forward to that. And we want to thank everybody wherever you are for listening. And we hope that you can find true peace and stay away from cult as much as possible. Thank you, guys.